This is Ryuokyo Gorge. It was formed from volcanic rocks ejected by a submarine volcano 22 million years ago and carved by the Kinugawa River, a river that caused floods so destructive that its very name means River of the Ogre's Wrath. The gorge in turn has earned its name, literally meaning Dragon King's Gorge, thanks to the craggy rocks that look as if they were created by a dragon thrashing around in agony. But in winter, it's an immensely peaceful place, offering stunning views, winding paths, and a few secrets to uncover along the way. In this video, I'd like to take you on a short tour along the gorge, share some footage and photos I captured, and include some historical and geological trivia. I decided to visit the Ryuokyo Gorge at the end of the New Year's break. We barely got the last two tickets for the 7:43 to Kinugawa Onsen, so initially I made my peace with the prospect of sharing the gorge with everyone on the platform as well as their mothers. I managed to sneak in a quick shot right before jumping on the train. Great thing about winter, you can get some decent morning light without getting up too early. Ryuokyo Gorge is located in the northern part of Tochigi Prefecture, near Nikko, and is part of Nikkō National Park. Getting there from Asakusa or Kitasenju stations is relatively easy, with just a quick transfer at Kinugawa Onsen. Keep in mind that both Revity and Spaceship X limited express trains require reserved seats. Revity, in particular, has only 3 cars and tends to sell out quickly. This also applies to the return trip, something we learned the hard way, but more on that later. Oh, and make sure to look out for any steam locomotives when the train stops at Shimoimaichi Station. After changing trains at Kinugawa Onsen, you can behold rows of abandoned hotels, ghosts of the bubble economy era's prosperity. We arrived at the Ryuokyo station around 9:50 am to find a parking lot and a few shops, all closed and blanketed in slowly melting snow. Even from there, the view was pretty nice, so we were off to a good start. Plus, it wasn't very crowded after all. It seems most people went to either Nikko or Kinugawa Onsen. The first stop on our route was Goryūō Shrine. Goryūō Shrine stands right next to the Nijimi Falls and overlooks the Nijimi Bridge, the main scenic spot in the area. It's a modest shrine dedicated to Takao no Mikoto, a dragon deity. Like most draconic kami in Japan, this one is associated with blessings of rain and the ability to prevent destructive downpours. The shrine was originally built in 1825 next to Benzainuma Bog, situated near Mount Keijōzan, northeast from Ryuokyo Gorge. The name Benzainuma refers to the goddess Benzaiten, who has roots in India but is known in Japan as one of the 7 lucky gods. She is often associated with dragons and, like them, is closely tied to water. Legend has it that the shrine was built to house a small wooden statue of the deity, carved by 2 renowned sculptors from Utsunomiya. According to the story, villagers from a nearby settlement decided the beautiful statue deserved a more accessible home and moved it to their village. This angered the dragon, bringing a series of misfortunes to the community. When the villagers tried to return the statue to its original location, the dragon revealed itself and demanded to be moved near the gorge. Historically, the shrine was relocated here in 1929, but the current building dates to 1957. With a renovation completed in 1998. Kinugawa River has always been prone to flooding, so it's little wonder that in the pre-modern times, locals turned to water-related deities for protection against disasters. Like I mentioned, the main scenic spot is only a short walk from the shrine, so that's where we headed next. And here it is, Nijimi Bridge, which, as you can see, offers a great view of the gorge. Like I mentioned in the beginning, Ryuokyo Gorge was formed by the erosion of volcanic rocks by the Kinugawa River. The name Dragon King's Gorge is said to originate from either its resemblance to the body of an Asian dragon or from the craggy rocks, which appear as if a dragon thrashed around the valley in pain. One could assume the name came from a local legend, but in fact it's surprisingly recent. The valley was first developed into a hiking course in 1949 by a local resident by the name of Saito Mokichi, unrelated to the more famous poet. In 1950, it was selected as one of the 100 tourist destinations of Japan in a contest run by Mainichi Shimbun newspaper. The name Ryuokyo Gorge was coined by Yajima Ichiro, a poet and director of Nikko Museum. The parking lot next to the station features a monument commemorating Yajima. The gorge is divided into 3 areas, each named for the color of its rocks. Hakuryūkyō, or White Dragon Gorge, is dominated by rhyolite, a fine-grained, silica-rich volcanic rock that is often light in color. Seiryūkyō, or Green Dragon Gorge, features green tuff formed from compacted volcanic ash and debris, often fused together by heat. Finally, Shiryūkyō, or Purple Dragon Gorge, contains many darker-colored andesite rocks formed from rapidly cooled lava with moderate silica content. Eventually, we left the Nijimi Bridge behind and started our hike upstream. Admittedly, there was nothing too spectacular about the subsequent stretch of the forest, but the ups and downs of the winding path made for a decent exercise. One place of interest is Sokonashi-numa, or the Bottomless Bog, which sounds like a location from a From Software game, but is in fact home to Kinugasa flying frog, a tree-dwelling species of frog. They are known for their rather unique way of reproducing. During the mating season, a male climbs a tree or tall grass, overhanging a pond or marsh, and calls to attract the female. When a female arrives, she secretes a foamy substance and whips it up with her hind legs to form a nest. She then lays eggs into the foam, while the male, clinging to her back, fertilizes them. Sometimes additional males join in the process. Eventually, the tadpoles hatch, wriggle their way out of the foam, and drop into the water below. Wait, why am I talking about frogs? Oh, right, Sokonashi-numa. Anyway, they are all hibernating right now. Eventually, we have reached the Musasabi Bridge, a second scenic spot of this route, and the border between the White Dragon Gorge and Green Dragon Gorge. On the northeastern side of the river, trees grew a bit less densely, making the snow melt faster and giving the stretch less wintry and more of a autumn-like vibe. Since the river is mostly occluded by the trees, I focused on hunting for smaller details that could make a decent shot and tried to pay more attention to the geological features of the area. For example, the rock you can see here is called Gokō-iwa, or Rock of Five Lights. Although it's hard to see well from this angle, the water has eroded the middle part of the rock, creating a hole and forming an arc-like shape. This erosion was possible because the rock is made of tuff, a material formed from accumulated volcanic ash, resulting in an uneven texture. In the past, water would collect inside the hole, and under certain conditions it would reflect light in such a way that rays of multicolored light were cast, hence the name. However, this phenomenon can no longer be observed. Along the pathway, I noticed a jagged, almost polygonal rocks jutting out of the ground. These formations, made of porphyry, are created when magma from the Earth's interior rises and cools near the surface, contracting as it solidifies. And here's one final geological point of interest before I put you all to sleep. These here are potholes formed in the andesite rock terrace on the opposite side of the river. This wider section of the river is the tail end of the Purple Dragon and the end point of Ryuokyo Gorge proper, but not the end of our trail. After that point, the path runs farther from the river through a somewhat deeper forest, hence more snow. Eventually the path took us past the Kawaji Daini power station. Not the most picturesque part of the route, but within this wintry landscape it has some stern charm. A few minutes later, Hamako Bridge led us yet again back to the opposite shore of Kinugawa River, where we made something of a discovery. This final stretch of the trail leads through Sakasagawa tunnels, a set of 3 tunnels following one after another. The tunnels were cut off from normal traffic, and the barely lit interior struck a vivid contrast with the snowy world outside, making the entire scene a bit unreal. Having left the tunnel behind, we headed to Kawaji Onsen Station, hoping to catch a train back to Tokyo. Kawaji Onsen Station's building was somewhat interesting architecturally and utterly deserted. Don't expect any restaurants nearby to be open. I think no one really comes here unless they have a reservation at one of the few guest houses in the area. There's precious few trains that stop here, and some that do have reserved seats only, and were already fully booked by the time we arrived. Tobu Railway's website is not very helpful in that it doesn't even list Kawaji Onsen Station, and you need to select Kawaji Yumoto instead when buying a ticket. Thankfully, we were able to board the express train and buy our tickets directly from the conductor, but they will only let you go as far as Kinugawa Onsen without a reservation. I must say, I really love how desolate Kinugawa Onsen looks. Especially at dusk, the town looked almost post-apocalyptic. I'm definitely coming back here to focus on this town specifically in a future video. And that's it for this video. If you enjoyed this little trip, please give it a like. It really helps out the channel. On this channel, I'm planning to explore many lesser known corners of Japan and dive deep into their history and cultural significance. So if that sounds interesting to you, please consider subscribing and hitting the bell icon so you can stay up to date. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.